horror intrigues me, be it in movie or video game form. I've been on a scary media kick ever since *Malignant* came out on HBO Max and in theaters. I was so impressed with it, I've watched it nearly half a dozen times already. I've wanted to dive into more of the genre, and we conveniently just got a game on the Switch that PC players were utterly terrified by. Here is my review of S.W.A.N. Chernobyl Unexplored for the Nintendo Switch. A few months after the Chernobyl disaster, a rescue team is sent to a research lab that dealt in odd and strange experiments. You are the leader of the team and wake up separated from the others. With flashlight in hand, you trek through the S.W.A.N. Institute and face horrifying visions and monsters as you try to find your team and unravel the mystery of this terrifying place. I'm not really sure what to think about this game's plot. It starts out interesting with the mystery of why everything crazy is going on, along with what they were trying to research. It's got that classic synopsis of unethical experiments and unheard of disasters leading to very bad things. But the further I went, the more unnecessarily complex the plot gets and further away from the initial thread it seems to reach. The extra sci-fi elements they throw in are interesting and different, but it feels like they veer away from what they were going for in the beginning. When it comes to gameplay, S.W.A.N. is a first-person horror game with a lot of puzzles to solve. As you trek through each area, you will light the way with your flashlight and use various tools to solve puzzles to get to the next area. Before really getting started, let's talk about jump scares. From its first 5 minutes, S.W.A.N. sets the tone that you will be on the edge of your seat constantly. It has ghosts running through walls, bodies appearing in and out of rooms, tall abominations appearing and screaming in the area behind you. Atmosphere and scare setup is done incredibly well. From music tones to how each jump scare pops up, it is legitimately terrifying. And for the first half of the game, it doesn't let up. Each area of the game has you navigating around and teleporting to other areas to do a portal-like minigame. But the moment you return to the Institute, every room throws blood-stained messages and horrifying specters to scare you all over again. But the game undoes itself in 2 ways. And I'm going to put a slight gameplay spoiler warning here. We are going to talk about a part of the jump scares that changed my view of how effective the system is. If you want to go in blind on that front, I would skip ahead in the video about 1 minute and 25 seconds. Had enough time to pause or skip ahead? The further you get in this adventure, the more it becomes apparent that most of the entities in this game pose no threat to you at all. There are segments where you can die, be it from not getting items in a time limit or being radiated to death by getting close to apparitions, but all of the jump scares are just there to scare you. Monsters run straight through you and you appear in another room, or they go through you and keep going. The scares are great, but a big part of the genre is that the place and monsters are supposed to be a threat. When most of the monsters can't actually hurt you, where's the fear and tension? The second is how each chapter is structured and balanced between horror and puzzles. This game is very heavy on the puzzle side, and each chapter focuses on a different kind of puzzle mechanic. You get a special mask to collect lightning for keys while shooting down ghostly specters. But later areas have you walk around to collect orbs with no enemies around, and another has you writing Morse code on the wall, again with very few if any enemies around. The puzzles are good and fun, but being combined with the horror could have been done a little bit better. One of the puzzles has a threat, but the others could have used something roaming around to keep you tense while you try to figure it out. The gameplay overall is solid though. It uses the flashlight well for the scare factor and does some unique things with the mask and lightning puzzle, though it is worth noting that you will not spend long in the Institute. The game is pretty short, coming in at only around 3 to 4 hours if it is your first time playing. You can replay any chapter if you want to look for hidden codes for getting a bonus on the main menu, but overall, once you get through the game, you're pretty much done. Next up is presentation. Visually, the game looks good. There isn't that much difference between the Switch and PC versions. It's nice and smooth, and the amount of darkness and detail on everything really helps its creepy atmosphere. The audio cues are also pretty great. A lot of the game is silent, with it coming in a little louder as you get closer to the scares. Though I think the game's voice acting is pretty rough and probably would have been better if the actor had just spoken Russian with subtitles instead of the rough English. When it comes to performance, it is good, but only if you play docked. The FPS is nice and smooth and even jumps up to the 60 range from time to time. But the moment you start playing in handheld mode, you get a lot of frame drops. Some areas drop it especially low with enemies nearby, but you're gonna get a lot of frame drops pretty much anywhere. With that out of the way, let's go into battery life. S.W.A.N gives the original and Switch Lite models a range of around 3 to 4 hours, and the Redbox or V2 2019 model gets a range of 9.5 to almost 11. In conclusion, S.W.A.N is a horror game that is great at building atmosphere for truly terrifying jump scares. It is unfortunately dragged down by an unnecessarily complex story, some performance issues, and some problems with the puzzle and scare systems. Now, if you play in docked mode and really love the horror genre, it is definitely worth a play, but it's a game that starts out great and goes a bit downhill the closer you get to the end. Reviews to go rates S.W.A.N Chernobyl Unexplored for the Nintendo Switch a 5.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.